Spring is in the air. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. We are cruising right now in the DURTYMAX, and the seat belts are slapping the seat pillars because, well, we got the windows down. Hope you guys are all doing absolutely outstanding today. Thank you all for joining me back for another video on the channel. Today's gonna be a fun video where we are gonna compare the pros and cons between arguably two of the best Duramaxes, I can't even talk. I'm so just accustomed to saying Duramaxes on this channel, but I'm growing out of my comfort zone. We got the Cummins now, and we just gotta remember that he is important too. What I was gonna say was we are going to compare the pros and cons between arguably two of the best diesels that have really ever been produced. And that, of course, is the 2007 LBZ Duramax versus the 2007 5.9 liter Cummins, of which I'm blessed to say that I own both of, and well, I figured that it would be a really good video to give you guys my personal take on the goods and bads between the both of them. So we'll get into all of those details here in just a few minutes. We're headed over to the shop right now to pick up the truck, and hopefully I can find a location where I can basically stash both of these vehicles to get them both in front of the camera. I'm a one-man show today, so I don't really know how easy that's gonna be because I have to move two vehicles, and yeah, anyway, you can see how it would get kind of complex. But anyway, guys, if you're new to the channel, I am actually giving away this 2007 LBZ Duramax dually long bed that you see me driving in right now. It's a 2LT, it's got leather, Bose sound system, and pretty much all the luxury amenities, including heated seats, that the premium trim vehicles have, but it also has about $10,000 in modifications. It's color matched, it's got an awesome set of wheels on it, Fuel Mavericks with Fury off-road mud terrain tires, it's got the full Whirly custom fab dress-up kit under the hood, it's got an upgraded suspension system on it, and a whole bunch of other great things. Guys, you could literally win this truck for the cost of a t-shirt or a hat. Every $20 gets you one automatic entry for a chance to win this truck, and the sweepstakes closes forever indefinitely on April 21st of 2019. If you're watching this video before then, your chance has not closed yet, but it's closing quickly. Don't miss your shot at taking home this one-of-a-kind dually, as it truly could be a life-changing event. And this is our second Duramax that we've ever given away, and second diesel that we've ever given away through my brand Enthusiast, which is the first link in the description below. I encourage that you head over there, check out our products. There's probably a design or a color style that'll suit your fancy, and well, it's by far the world's best credit reward system because you could take home this truck. So enough said, let's get into comparing some really epic diesels. Thumbnails. Yeah, that'll be good. All right, so we just got to the shop. We got the Cummins pulled out, but I unfortunately don't have any assistance in orchestrating the layout of this video, and really I'm not in the most suitable location to do it here with both trucks, so we're just gonna have to improvise and do one truck at a time. Without further ado, let's get into it. So now you guys have seen the trucks real briefly, but I just wanted to take a moment in my garage to show you the both of them and review our first topic of discussion, and that is price expectations. So here is my 2007 Silverado 3500 HD dually Duramax. It's a crew cab configuration with a 8-foot bed. Now, for purposes of comparison, I'm gonna remove bias by not comparing the comforts of the trim levels, as this one is an LT2 with leather and Bose sound system and heated seats, and well, the 5.9 behind me is only an SLT. So this is my 2007 5.9 liter Dodge Ram Cummins. I just recently picked this up, and as you guys know, or those of you that have been watching this channel for a while, I have always kind of been a Duramax channel, but recently we brought a new brand on, and it's been the funnest thing. By the way, guys, we have a lot of modifications in store for this truck. They just haven't arrived yet, but I'm watching those tracking numbers on the daily. So if you're a Cummins supporter, definitely don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button or that thumbs up as you're watching, because, well, we're gonna be doing a lot of fun things with this truck behind me. But long story short, in terms of mileage, this one has about 99,000 miles on it, and this one has about 107,000 miles on it, and well, I paid just a little bit more for this one than I did for that one. And that number was in the mid-20s. So you might say, oh my God, these trucks are 12 years old and you're paying mid-20s. Well, that's the first thing in this video is these are two of the most iconic diesels that I'm gonna say ever existed, especially due to some of the changes that OEM manufacturers had to make to diesels here in the last, call it like 10 years or 12 years really at the end of the day, because this truck right here behind me really is a purely mechanical diesel. It doesn't have anything else that would, let's just say, suffocate it, whereas this one has some things and it's still all intact, but it definitely added a layer of complexity, especially to diesel enthusiasts. So with that said, the 07 5.9 before they switched to 6.7 and the 2007 LBZ are arguably two of the most desirable, or the last truly desirable diesel platforms that are available. Now, to my 6.0 guys, I'm sorry, I do not have a Power Stroke. Maybe one day I'll get one, but in terms of this comparison, I'm just gonna have you guys sit on the bench. I apologize, but you'll get your chance, don't worry. For a good condition, no rust diesel in either one of these, you're gonna be paying somewhere in the 20s, especially if they have lower miles. Now guys, question, 100,000 miles, Jack, that doesn't seem low. Well, yeah guys, it really actually is in the grand scheme of when you're comparing diesels. But just make sure you're looking out for rust and make sure you're looking out for, you know, like some meticulous maintenance and a clean Carfax if you're gonna go one of these routes. So now that we know price, let's just talk about ease of basic modifications. We're not gonna go into like crazy builds or big old open budget builds. We're gonna talk about the general diesel enthusiast that likes to make passion a priority, that likes to buy some car parts, that likes to buy some truck parts, and likes to tinker around. Which one's easier? Is it easier to work on a Duramax, or is it easier to work on a 5.9? Well, I think that that's a no-brainer for some of you, and for some of you it might not be, but I'm gonna say the 5.9 is way simpler to work on versus that of the Duramax. And that's simply due to the fact that, well, look, here is the 6.6 liter V8 turbo diesel LBZ Duramax motor. There's not all that much room in the engine bay. You can see all the coolant stuff and the intercooler piping there. You've got your 4 cylinders, and then on the other side, we've got the intake and the coolant expansion tank and the EGR, and the turbo is all the way down in the valley behind all of that stuff. And then you've got your other 4 cylinders, and really, you can't see the ground. I mean, you kind of can, but it's not like it really counts to where you'd be able to like shove your arm in here and be able to work on things. But when it comes to the 5.9, that is a totally different story. You can quite literally shove your arm all the way into the engine bay on either side if you need to access anything. And that is what makes these trucks super freaking awesome and ridiculously easy to work on, because everything's accessible. Plus you're down 2 cylinders and they're not in the V-shaped form. They're in line. Everything is right here, which makes that an absolute no-brainer in terms of comparison. Now, when we're going out for a test drive, we will talk about transmission a little bit more in terms of how they kind of respond, but on paper, I'd say that the Duramax excels in terms of transmissions because they have the 6-speed Allison A1000 transmission, whereas this 5.9 behind me here has a 4-speed transmission, which is called the 48RE. And Dodge owners know this, and I think every other diesel owner knows this about Dodges, is that they change their transmissions like they do their oil or their tires, because tires tend to, on average, last a little bit longer than an oil change. But all joking aside, those transmissions are really not that stout. They're, we'll go into some of those details here in a little bit. But if you're comparing apples to apples, then the Allison A1000 is arguably the better choice. So arguably, if this platform had a baby with that platform, I'd say that if we could take that motor and made it to that transmission, it would be like the holy grail in terms of like overall capability. So I'm not trying to upset anybody. I'm sure that the comments in this video are gonna just go absolutely berserk about, well, this is better than that and this is better than that. I just wanna let you guys know, this is purely an opinion-based video based off my ownership of the two iconic duos. And last but not least, before we jump into the Cummins to go for our ride before the Duramax, just because, well, that's the first one that's gonna get out of my garage, I'm gonna say the overall longevity of the body. Cummins guys, I know that you knew that this was coming. On average, in general, the bodies on these trucks are just known to go through rust. It's a no-brainer. It's almost like some people say, well, it's the best powertrain ever mated to somewhat of a crappy chassis, and it's got somewhat of a, let's just say, crappy drivetrain. Obviously, those are all just assumptions, and you can find great condition trucks like I did with this one here, which has no rust on it whatsoever, but the fenders on these trucks rust really, really badly. It's just like tin can aluminum. There's not much to it. Now, I'm not gonna say that the Chevys are any better, and this is a dually specifically, so the dually wells are actually fiberglass, so you wouldn't be able to see rust on these even if it just sat outside and salt for years, but up underneath is still steel, and on the Duramaxes, you tend to see a lot of rust and oxidation in the rocker panels and in the cab corners, of which this truck doesn't have any either. So I'm gonna say that there's not one that's better. In my personal experience, I've seen way more Dodges with rust than I have Chevys with rust, but that just could be due to how I'm encountering the trucks. And I don't really want to say that one is better than another, because regardless, if you stick one of these outside in salt for a while and you don't wash it, it's gonna rust regardless. So they're kind of at a truce in my personal opinion there. So let's close up shop and jump into the Cummins. we are out and about in the 5.9, I gotta ask my subscribers one question, and that is, I boiled the name of this truck down to 2 names. All based on your suggestions. The first one that you guys loved was Blue Balls. So would this truck be called Blue Balls, or are we gonna name it Papa Smurf? If you guys have any other great name suggestions, drop them below. But from the debut video of this truck, it seems like you guys were kind of gravitating to those 2. After this video, I'm just gonna go through and I'm gonna tally up what you guys are recommending, and well, that's gonna be the new name of the truck. So now we're cruising around in the Dodge, and the first thing that I wanna talk about is the overall ride comfort. I don't care what anybody says, don't ever discount comfort of a vehicle, because you spend all your time inside and you want to make sure that it's comfortable. Overall, from the inside, these trucks are just a little bit more spacious feeling. They feel larger, they feel boxier. It feels like there's more room and more air in the cab. Looking around, it's kind of like a plain Jane gray interior. There was something about this generation of vehicles where all the OEMs just gravitated to gray on pretty much everything, which is kind of weird. Now the LBZ has tan interior as well, and I believe that they offered tan for these trucks back in the day too. Don't quote me on that, but most commonly you see gray, and everything is gray. I mean, it's gray and silver and gray. It's like, guys, you don't wear gray on gray. It's like fashion 101 in today's day and age. At least that's what my wife says. So the overall comfort is good. The visibility is, I'm gonna say, very good. Things are open. You have a nice kind of driver position where you can rest your arm right on the windowsill and grab the steering wheel. At least this is how I like to drive. And overall, it is, comfortable. I can't complain. Now, if you guys can see, there's just a little bit of play in the wheel, nothing crazy. All trucks have that. I know 2nd gen Cummins trucks and the older Ram trucks do get notorious for death wobble. There are memes all over the internet that talk about that, but this truck feels pretty good there. But the one big difference, if you were blindfolded truck to truck and you weren't able to hear the exhaust note, you would notice is the softness of the ride. And that's purely due to the fact that the Rams have a single axle up front. That ride on, kind of like coilovers, if you will, they're basically just big springs with little shocks in the middle. They don't really do all that much. Now, there are a lot of people out there that say, obviously, I'm gonna go out and buy a diesel. I'm not really gonna care all that much about how it rides. And yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people too. But having my Duramax experience, I'm a little bit spoiled because those have independent front suspension, which we'll talk about here once we jump into the LBZ. And now another behavioral characteristic that I definitely want to call out is the fact that the 5.9s have a 4-speed transmission. So you kind of tend to hold out and drag onto these gears all the time, whereas in more variable speed transmissions, it tends to be a little bit more selective and have more options for the speed that you're going. So this thing's always kind of just like drag, 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 rather than shift down and go. I actually prefer to drive this truck in tow haul mode, so that way the converter is locked all the time, just because it seems a little bit more decisive when trying to choose a gear. But on the highway, it makes a world of difference as well, because the truck is really above 2,000 RPMs if you're doing that 60 to 70 mile per hour sweet spot on the highway, kind of like that cruising speed. So now we are in 4th gear, doing 52 miles an hour, and we're at 1,500 RPMs roughly. So it kind of just drags and drags and drags. Another thing is, if you have an exhaust on your Cummins, it is going to drone a lot. All things to bear in mind when you're going out, and you should really test drive either vehicle before you truly make up your mind if you are in fact not extremely loyal to a brand like most of the audience probably is. In the Cummins, it's kind of weird. Sometimes you take your foot off the gas and then it'll still shift up, although I'm not applying any throttle commands to the truck. I'm still getting a little bit used to it. Now, another thing with these trucks is they do have the fold-out tow mirrors. My Moose mirrors are not up right now. I guess I haven't totally joined the Cummins squad quite yet, but the mirrors are okay at best. They have a built-in blind spot mirror, which is nice up in that top left corner there, but really this kind of rectangular shape that's horizontal isn't really all that efficient in my personal opinion. I'd almost rather more length than width, just because I want to truly be able to see kind of what is in my rear view mirror. Now, this truck is not tuned yet, and it feels that way. It's definitely sluggish. It's nothing that would win a race by any means, but overall, just drivability, it's friendly, it's there, and I honestly don't really have any complaints. This truck has a fixed vane turbo, I believe, whereas the Duramax has a different turbo configuration, and that leads to a dramatically different driving experience. But overall, you can really kind of feel the torque and the grunt and the lugginess of the Cummins versus that of the Duramax. So I think that at this point in time, we should go back and jump into the dually so we can touch on some of the things that are really great about that truck and some of the things that really aren't all that great about that truck. So I'll see you guys over there. All right, and now we are behind the wheel of my Silverado, and right off the get-go, that ride comfort is there. No doubt, no comparison at all. The independent front suspension is really great for those long drives or just overall ride comfort. It is literally a 1-to-none comparison. But if you're looking to bury yourself in that local mud hole and hope to get out without the assistance of a winch, I would not say that independent front suspension is going to satisfy that need. But then again, if you're trying to find a truck without rust, you're probably, yeah, anyway. It is just a way more plush ride at the end of the day. And then of course, stepping into the throttle, truck is shifting. It's shifting. That's because of that 6-speed transmission, as I talked about, which really leads to an overall, let's just say, more friendly drive, if you will. It's shifting into the right gears. When you need to move, you can step into it and it's gonna actually shift in the gear that you need, and you're gonna get up and go. Whereas in the Cummins, it's gonna shift too, but it's gonna be a clanky, more rattly shift and experience. Whereas in this thing, it's really, honestly, rather smooth. Now, obviously, we are in a 2LT, so it's leather. It's got all the premium trims and all those nice comfort amenities. But if I was just kind of gonna backtrack here and compare the comfort of the seats in the Duramax that are not the leather, that would be like your standard bench seat. I have them in my other Duramax, or at least I used to. They are definitely a lot more plush and they are softer, and I would say overall more comfortable to sit in. Now the cab feel is a lot different too. In the Cummins, the windshield is just a lot bigger, whereas in the Duramax, it's actually smaller from top to bottom and it's more of an upright position, whereas in the Dodge, it's kind of more sloped and it is way longer. And the overall feeling in this truck is a little bit more confined, and I don't want to say claustrophobic, but it is more of a cockpit, whereas in the Dodge, it's a lot wider and breathier. Now, of course, you can still rest your arm on the windowsill and drive. It's one of my favorite things to do, but you still do kind of feel like you're more in the truck rather than on top of the truck, if that makes sense. Now, another thing to note being that both of these trucks do have 5-inch exhausts, you can really barely hear the Duramax. When you step into it, it screams and it lets you know. But in the Dodge, it's kind of constantly droning in a way. Don't get me wrong, that drone is very pleasing. It sounds awesome. But in this truck, if you step on it, you definitely know that it's there, but then when you go back to normal driving, it's almost like it doesn't exist. And then obviously the one big change in the driving behavior of this truck is it does have a VGT turbo versus the 5.9, which I do not believe has a VGT turbo, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm not a Cummins expert by any means, but these things spool up really, really quickly, and they carry power all the way throughout the RPM spectrum, whereas the Dodge tends to really kind of fall on its face. The V8s in these trucks tend to just really like those higher RPMs just a little bit more than those inline 6s. Now, overall visibility in this truck versus the last truck, I'd say that they're about similar, but the toe style mirrors on the Duramaxes, in my personal opinion, are just far superior. They give you that full-length blind spot visibility, and they give you that nice little square mirror, which gives you a lot more width and length in terms of what you can see behind you. You definitely need that in this truck, especially because of those big old dually hips. And then last but not least, I kind of actually prefer the feel of the Duramax steering wheel over that of the Cummins. Just kind of feels like it fits in your hand right. And again, that's all personal preference, and I'm just sharing that as kind of, it's one thing that comes to mind as I sit here and cruise around these beautiful back roads in this truck. And last but not least, the one thing that I want to touch on is all these trucks have like crappy plastic interiors. So creaks and rattles and vibrations are really not avoidable in any one of those trucks, regardless of the brand that you're sitting behind. All right, guys, now we are back at my house. As you can see, we've got Papa Smurf or Blue Balls Cummins. You guys got to drop a comment below as to what you guys want me to name it. Again, this is your last opportunity to drop your name suggestions. If I see something that blatantly stands out to me that isn't one of those two names, it is definitely eligible to become the face of this truck right here. And then of course we've got the 2015 and the Mini-Max out here kind of just looking like siblings, which is why I named it the Mini-Max, because it came right after my Corvette, but it was kind of in lieu of this truck right here. And you can see, you know, they have a lot in common, but really that is the grandpa of that truck technically. So anyway, guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know there was a lot of stuff that, you know, arguably I could have gone over, technical specifications and power capability and all these different things that, you know, I really kind of actually wanted to leave out of the video. I just wanted to give you guys my personal opinion about the trucks, and honestly, I love both of them. I mean, I wouldn't have bought them if I didn't love them, and you know, it's kind of one of those things where each one has its own personality. Ultimately, that's what makes them unique. You know, needless to say, I'm very grateful that it's very difficult to pick the truck that I'm going to be driving each day. I'm eternally grateful for them, but that doesn't mean that there aren't, you know, flaws and pros to each one. It's kind of just like, you know, what are you in the mood for that day? Now, speaking of the Cummins, I know you guys have been wondering where it is. We've been focusing a lot on the Mini-Max lately, and Really only the work has just begun on that because we're gonna be taking on a big project there. We've got a lot in store actually for the 2015, which you guys are gonna be seeing soon. I might have a trailer update for you guys based on my clickbait video just a few videos ago. Exciting news there, exciting news there. And then last but not least, see that stuff right there? Yeah, that's for this truck right here. The parts are starting to roll in and we are expecting wheels and tires here very, very shortly. Hopefully within the next video or two, maybe three. I hate over promising and under delivering, but a lot in store for the Cummins. So if you guys haven't hit that subscribe button, go ahead and do it already. My like league, I love you guys. Do what you do best. You are down to just a week and a half's time to get entered for the LBZ. Check out Enthusiast, first link in the description below. Guys, one hat could make all the world's difference in getting you the LBZ dually keys. Imagine the possibilities. These will literally be one of yours. That's crazy to think about. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I promise, see you in the next video.